This should hopefully help clear some things up if, people decide to have their head up their ass.
Do not allow them to deploy federal troops into here. Do not allow them to invoke the Insurrection Act. Do not allow them to declare martial law.
That does not give the president the powers to take over the state legislature. Does not give him the ability to suspend elections. It gives him the ability to ensure that law and order is maintained, and especially federal law is still capably enforced in the face of insurrectionists. The Insurrection Act. So let me just set this up for you. The threat of President Trump invoking the Insurrection Act, that has now been, it's been made into a boogeyman.
Yep.
For the left. So he wants to invoke the Insurrection Act. They want you to believe that that makes him de facto fascist. No. It exists for a reason. It's been invoked many times for a reason. Let me just clarify this to you. And then I want to get through what the Insurrection Act is, what it is not, and why I would argue it's entirely appropriate for Minneapolis at this point in time. So it allows the president to deploy the military domestically against anyone who, quote, engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto. So, that tells you what it is. That tells you where it's appropriate. It's not the same as martial law, and I want you to keep that in mind as you watch the left wrongfully describe it for you.
What this administration is looking for is for there to be deadly encounters so that they can revoke the Insurrection Act and have martial law.
By definition, he's going to test the boundaries and the limits, and that's why I suggest the next phase of this is the Insurrection Act.
The president, who talked about wanting to shoot protesters multiple times, according to multiple eyewitnesses, but was stopped from making that order, has sort of wanted another crack at it and wanted the Insurrection Act.
Do not allow them to deploy federal troops into here. Do not allow them to invoke the Insurrection Act. Do not allow them to declare martial law.
You have no control over
martial law is not the same as the Insurrection Act, right, to be clear.
100%.
The Insurrection Act allows, there are 3 conditions under which it would be appropriate, and there are 16 times that I believe, or 16 different presidents, I'll have the numbers here in a second, that it's been invoked. And that does not give the president the powers to take over the state legislature. Does not give him the ability to suspend elections. It gives him the ability to ensure that law and order is maintained, and especially federal law is still capably enforced in the face of insurrectionists. It's actually really clear. So this idea that it's nebulous, no, it's not. It's very limited, it's very transparent, and that brings us to claim truth.
Ding, ding.
As always, the references are available, link in the description. Here's the first claim you will hear. Of course, it's untrue. Only a fascist would invoke the insurrection.
In the early days of the Nazi regime, they started slowly but surely taking away people's rights. And what we're seeing now is the very same thing. They've gone into cities now with the military. Think about that. In your lifetime, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yes.
Where the President of the United States is sending military or troops dressed as military, ICE and CBP, in camouflage, with automatic weapons.
Not camouflage.
Into our major cities.
Yes, semi-automatic.
It's wrong.
Yes.
And indeed, especially at a time when it's the President of the United States who's causing the mayhem on the ground.
Not true at all.
Black Lives Matter was his fault. No, that's right. That was one of the primary reasons why Donald Trump was elected in his first term, the law and order president, because people were tired of it. Then, that brings us to the truth. It was created by the founders for a very valid reason. 16 presidents invoked the act 30 different times for a multitude of reasons. Let me give you some examples. Thomas Jefferson in 1808. This was when American merchant ships flouted Jefferson's trade embargo with the British. You have Eisenhower and JFK. This was 57 through 63. This is when governors refused to enforce desegregation. And then I believe the last president to invoke it was George H.W. Bush in 92, when California couldn't quell the Rodney King riots themselves. No prior use was ever declared unconstitutional. It's just if Donald Trump does it.
Yeah.
We saw that same thing where you had plenty of presidents and candidates who questioned election results.
Yeah.
It was never something worthy of impeachment until Donald Trump did so.
And then you have a guy like Pritzker who, I'm sorry, we've been down this road before, said in Nazi Germany, they started taking away rights. And you're seeing the same thing here. Name one.
Right.
What right has Donald Trump removed from American citizens? Just name it, because you basically made the claim that he's a Nazi. He's just like Hitler right now. It's Hitler 2.0.
Right.
Right?
It's almost like they invented new rights. If anything, now they have new rights because, I mean, they're able to run around and fucking blow shit up and light things on fire and throw shit at people, including cops, and not get arrested. In fact, the cops back down and leave. It's almost like they have more rights than they previously did. Weird.
And now you're saying he's taking away. I know Hitler bad always, right? He's taking away rights.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the 48th Amendment? The right to assault federal officers and flee the scene?
Yeah, something
guess.
like that.
Like a right to enter illegally?
I guess maybe the rights you removed from them, like he didn't allow people on their own front porch. Donald Trump ordered the
Yeah.
shooting of them with paintball
No,
guns
that was,
because of the virus. It's really hard for me to keep
Right.
track. Here's the next claim you'll hear. That there's no precedent that would be appropriate here right now for President Trump using it. There's no example similar to this.
All the laws, both the Militia Act and the Insurrection Act that he mentioned, both require, the president to state that there is some sort of, emergency or uprising or rebellion that can't be controlled through conventional law enforcement.
Correct.
And everything that the Trump administration has tried to say is happening in order to justify invoking either of those laws just isn't true. It's just not.
It's completely true.
All the
Bro.
devices that they're citing are manufactured, and they've been manufactured in some cases willingly by this
This
administration.
guy's a fucking troglodyte.
Well, here's the truth. Of course, as a matter of fact, this would meet the definition and certainly one of the three requirements. The Insurrection Act is meant to be invoked under three distinct circumstances. Number one, at the request of a state.
Like California,
Mhm.
the Rodney Kings.
Yep, that makes sense. Number two, to enforce federal law when unlawful obstructions make it something that's not possible.
Well,
Right.
So we do have states. And then
That's
we do
the
have
one.
federal laws, to be clear. And if the federal law can't be enforced, well, it still is under the purview of the federal government to ensure that it's enforced. And number three, to protect the people's constitutional rights when states fail or refuse to do so. For example, if people have the right to travel freely, if people have the right to speak freely, if people have the right to not be under threat of violence because multiple city blocks are taken over. Keep in mind that the conditions 2 and 3, they actually don't require any consent from the state. As a matter of fact, they're there specifically to deal with states that don't provide consent and may actually be involved in aiding or abetting insurrectionists themselves.
yeah, and clearly, go back up to
Oh,
number
they're
two
doing
really
it.
quickly.
They're definitely doing
Clearly,
it.
number two, enforce federal law when unlawful obstructions. You mean like somebody parking in the street and kind of, I've seen videos where they're literally boxing ICE agents in, and ICE agents have so little power,
Yeah.
of course, all and the police aren't going to help them, that they just
No.
basically have to sit there and take it.
Yep.
This is the most insane thing that I have seen. So number two,
Bullshit.
100%, it's a walk-off, done, move in.
Yeah, I think you could argue that with every sanctuary city.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
100%.
Every sanctuary city existing is an obstruction to federal law operations.
Yeah. Think about the federal laws, you can deport illegal aliens. Well, we're going to protect them. Insurrection Act it is.
There you go.
You mean protect them as in, like, let them come here and not do anything? Or do you mean protect them as in actively work against us when we try to take them out of the country?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all you need. Actively work and
Same.
make it impractical, not impossible.
Because that's what they're
You
doing.
don't have to go to
Yes.
impossible, just mess with it a lot.
And before we have the libertarians out there, this is solely a presidential power. You need no congressional approval. That's by design. It was confirmed by the Supreme Court some 1820 something. You can go check the references. We make them all available. The next claim that they will make, and you'll hear this a lot, is that, but President Trump is going to be using the military against his own citizens. That is fascist and not in line with the father's something.
You know what? They wouldn't be using it against their own citizens if they would fucking go home and actually like get a job or do something. I don't know, but they're wasting everyone's time. They're wasting the government's money, and they're putting themselves in harm's way and acting like they're the fucking victims. It's dumb as shit.
At this point, Trump has been very
Well, the
clear about
CIA,
his intent. At Quantico, speaking as commander-in-chief, he instructed his military brass to use cities as, quote, training grounds. And many times, he's floated the idea of invoking the Insurrection Act so that military units can raid, detain, and arrest Americans.
Good.
Well, in this case, they're seeking out non-Americans. So that's a truth that's pretty important. I think ICE is seeking out non-Americans who are being protected by anti-American communists. For example, the mayor of Minneapolis. But
Yeah.
no, President Trump would only be using this against insurgents. The Insurrection Act, it limits the presidential authority to restoring law and order and only targeting insurgents. It even requires that the president give them one last public warning to peacefully disperse before the military can and will be used. Let's be really
The
clear.
warning-
Legal scholars all agree That the
It's already
president's
there.
actions under the act are, quote, limited by the Constitution and by tradition. There's no suspension of civil rights,
Right.
like you would see under martial law, which brings us to the next claim, and they deliberately try and disingenuously link the two as though they are one and the same, Insurrection Act and martial law.
A scenario in which Trump finds a pretext, invokes the Insurrection Act, and tries to impose martial law.
Not the same thing.
Elections, therefore, could be canceled,
Nope.
or if they happen, he could surround polling places with military and federal law enforcement to intimidate voters.
You are
The
fucking
president's right
retarded.
to invoke the Insurrection Act is real. It has to be taken as real. He may well use the Insurrection Act as a weapon to expand his deployments and turn these cities and states into armed camps and police states.
No.
Yeah. So here's the truth. The Insurrection Act allows the president to restore order to the state. It does not allow him to run the state at all. Just to be clear, nowhere in the Insurrection Act is the president allowed to take over the civil administration of the states, to rewrite laws, to suspend elections, or to simply declare martial law, or even deploy robocops. If kids are watching, they shouldn't.
Great fucking movie, by the
Keep
way.
firing.
You got it.
It's a Dallas skyline.
So you can't do that.
Yeah, that's not
Under the
allowed.
Insurrection Act? Oh, okay.
It's at the
Oh.
it's at the very least what we determine to be a gray area.
Oh,
If
right,
anything, it would be
yeah, but-
full of paintballs, but, you know,
They
whatever.
keep saying these things like it's an excuse so he could set up these camps, an excuse so he could do this, an excuse. Why?
Yeah.
To what end? They insist that Trump is in love with the idea of martial law.
Right.
Is in love with the idea of turning American cities into military camps. For what reason?
Mm-hmm.
Give me the reason. What is your reason? What do you think he wants to do? Because the reason we're saying is to uphold law and order.
Yeah.
You're saying it's to set up all these for what?
Yeah. No.
For what? Oh, Alyssa Slock is told the troops to use it as a training ground. Well, is that what he said, or did he say treat it like a training ground, as in no live rounds?
Right. Yeah.
Don't treat it like war.
You'll never know.
Okay.
You'll never know.
Oh.
No,
Well, what's the fucking... Dude, they don't need training. They already have it. Like, so that's a weird fucking talking point that makes no sense that they would even push that shit out. No fucking sense.
they'll never tell you because they also try and tell you that it's the same as martial law. I absolutely think that Minnesota meets the threshold for the Insurrection Act.
Absolutely.
I absolutely think that the Insurrection Act exists for a reason. I think this is well within the bounds of precedent. As a matter of fact, I think if you look at some of the examples where the Insurrection Act was invoked, it actually wasn't this severe. And I think we need to stop behaving in a way that fears the PR from the left because they're going to give it to you anyway. You just had a woman who protested all day, helped lead it, blocked ICE officers, hit one with her car, and she is being made into Saint Renee.
Right.
I don't care about the PR from the left.
You know what's wild too about her is that she basically opted to be with her lesbian partner, then take care of her kids after her lesbian partner basically put cigarettes out on her child and apparently beat the shit out of her. And she's running around as, like a savior and all this other shit. It's like, dude, you're a fucking complete degenerate, and so is your partner. Why the fuck are we worshipping you? Not saying that we are, but, it's like, why are people fucking worshipping you? You were in the road, blocking the fucking road, completely, no law and order there. You're surrounded by people with guns, and you're still pushing back, when we all know, including you, know that you can't really fight with cops. They have guns, you don't. They will shoot you if you fuck around, and then you will find out.
I care about the country that we live in. I care about law and order. And restoring law and order within the proper constraints constitutionally in no way violates your rights, my rights, or the idea of freedom in America.
It actually protects them. It preserves those rights. This wouldn't be a problem had the border not been as open as it was under the Biden administration and going back decades for sure.
America.
But specifically, this wouldn't be a problem if places like Minneapolis, Minnesota were doing their jobs. They would help ICE. They would make sure that they detained people and found out, this person's here illegally. ICE, can you come pick this person up? I have a detainer. Here you go. This person's off to go back to wherever they came from. Same thing in California. We wouldn't have to do this on the level that we're doing it right now. What if you just cooperated a little? Do you think bad guys off the streets would be something that you could sell in the next election? Probably so.
Yeah.
Instead, you're out there saying, oh, it's moms and dads and abuelos and abuelas, and I can't believe we're doing this to our own citizens. How about we just enforce the laws? We have a union of states here that said, yes, we all sign up for this.
Yeah.
You can't just go, well, I don't like that rule. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that.
Can't cherry pick.
No, you have to. And we're going to send people in to make sure it's done.
Well, how about this, too, where they just go, oh, bad guys, look, ICE. And then this is how you know the left is disingenuous. They say, well, of course, Lake and Riley is trash, and nobody wants that. Oh, of course, Zarutska, nobody wants that. Okay, so let me ask you this. If it was your child, if it was your 12-year-old girl who was raped, who was forcibly sodomized, who was trafficked, and you had to beat on the guy who did it, what would stop you?
Good question.
And then would you allow someone to stop you who is acting actively on behalf of the forcible sodomite, on the child rapist? Would you allow Renee Good to stop you, mocking you, dancing, if you know that you have a chance to capture someone who is trafficking children, raping children, beating them? Would you let her stop you? Of course.
Fuck
No.
no.
The answer is you would probably be far more forceful. That's what these people are out there to do. Sure, they're going to arrest any illegal aliens they encounter, as they should. But you can find people, these protesters, defending, protecting these horrible, awful criminals in every single instance. Would you allow them to stop you? If the answer is no, then you understand what's at play here. Because the left, notably these screeching angry feminists, the same pussy hats, are out there now. They will actively defend these people always, no matter how heinous the act.
Yeah, they will.
That's how it goes. That's what.
They will. They defend these motherfuckers. They will do it till the end of the end of the world. Honestly, it's just because Orange Man enforces laws, just because of that alone, and it's fucking disgusting. It's like all those women that got killed by illegal immigrants. They have not one tear in their eye, but an illegal immigrant gets deported, they have all the tears, but they're all crocodile tears. It's fake fucking posturing bullshit. And it's actually fucking disgusting. Because what it shows to me, and maybe some might construe it as reaching, but it's like, does that mean that, like, it could happen in front of you and you still have no emotion about it? It's fucked. It's absolutely fucked.
Why the Insurrection Act is appropriate, in my opinion, and we'll take your chats and see what.
It's
what
not
you
your
think.
I
opinion.
think
It's
so too. By the way,
absolute
on
objective
CNN right
truth.
now, sources 1,000 more immigration agents deploying to Minneapolis. Good.
Great.
Flood the zone. I'm not
Bring
even kidding.
it.
Like, at this point, it's like, if they get away with this and they run the ICE agents off, it's a playbook for every single major American city who doesn't want to play ball or a state that wants to be a sanctuary state.
Yeah.
Don't let it
And
happen.
the Minneapolis police, boy, talk about embarrassing.
Oh, man.
They basically abandoned their post. You saw that these guys, they found out where the ICE agents were sleeping, the hotel.
Yes.
They're trying to get in, and like, oh, if we can't get in, we'll just disturb the peace all night so they can't get sleep.
Absolutely.
What about the people around there?
Yeah.
What about their right? We enforce disturbing the peace. In any other instance, we just won't. In this case, because,
Why don't we enforce anything when it comes to these ICE protests?
yeah,
They
because
don't enforce anything. You see these people going up to cars, to the ICE agents' cars, banging on the windows. You see them throwing bricks at windshields from bridge overpasses. You see them hassling them, surrounding them. You can't do that to me.
no.
Well, but there's a
You can't do that to your neighbor. Why can you do it to a federal law enforcement?
They have the mentality of, there are too many of us to arrest. And I'm honestly, at this point, if you're standing in the middle of the street, lasso all of them and sort that shit out later. Honestly, at this point. Yeah. Dude, go home. Go work. Do something productive in society. Don't just be a fucking retard in public.
Why is it because they have a badge on? It's okay.
Right.
well,
Well, because they're the Gestapo.
Right. That's right.
Because it's the Gestapo, and they're out here murdering Jews,
Right.
burning people alive. So it's okay. You can do it.
there's
They
a
do.
specific legal problem with this. If the police
They do actually have that hyperbolic stance, which is fucking disgusting. I can't stand it when I hear this shit, because they're always like, you guys are fucking Nazis. I'm like, dude, Nazis rounded up Jews and put them in gas chambers. This is so fucking different. So fucking different. Like, you'd have to be a fucking complete lobotomite to fall for that stupidity.
This force decides they're not going to help out. ICE officers don't have the authority to enforce normal traffic laws or anything.
No, exactly.
So they know they can get away with it. So I have a question, and this maybe is a legal question for George or anybody else. Is there a way that they can be deputized and given more authority legally? But is there like a conservative sheriff out there that needs a little bit more help and it applies statewide? I have no idea how these things work. But what I'm saying is these ICE officers, and I'm not looking to give them like unfettered authority, but if somebody is blocking and impeding them and endangering them, I would like for them to be able to drag them out of the car, put them in cuffs, and put them in a federal detention facility and have charges filed.
Yeah,
I agree with this.
Well, the police force doesn't want to do it. Like in New York, Mamdani says, I won't cooperate with ICE. Obviously, Pritzker doesn't want anybody in his state cooperating with ICE. And Gavin Newsom doesn't want anybody in his state cooperating with ICE. How about we go around that a little bit, but use the law to do it? That would be fantastic. Anybody got any ideas? I hope so.
Let me ask you this. People say, "Oh, it's going to infringe upon your rights." Put yourself right there. Let's try and get this to the most literal apples to apples like comparison that you can get here. Imagine you, for whatever reason, you're working in Minneapolis, Twin Cities. You're there, I don't know, some job conference. All right, and you see the standoff right there with Renee Good and ICE. She's blocking the street, and you're trying to get to your next meeting, your next conference, and you see the ICE cars. And you drive down the street and go around. So you're right there in that scenario, but you're not blocking ICE. Would you feel under threat even there in that scenario whatsoever? Would you feel that any of your freedoms, of your rights, are being infringed upon by those ICE officers?
The only fear I would have is that I would be yelled at and that I would have to move somewhere I didn't want to move. Oh, gee.
Yeah. I would feel that my rights are being infringed upon by the lady blocking traffic.
Yeah.
What if you lived in that neighborhood?
Yeah.
Would you feel that ICE coming in to carry out a mission, which, by the way, they aim to do very swiftly, go in, get said criminal, take them out? Would you feel as though they have put you at risk? They have somehow impeded your day? Or would you feel that the lady honking, blaring music, screaming, blocking the streets had?
It's easy to blame ICE in that situation because if you're a neighbor in the neighborhood, you don't want to blame the protesters.
Right.
ICE isn't going to burn your house down.
Right.
No, I blame the
ICE
protesters.
isn't going to keep you up all night yelling.
Yeah.
ICE isn't going to throw things through your window. ICE isn't going to follow you, make a tracker.
Yeah.
To find out where the fascist lives.
Yep. And that's why the police in Minneapolis, like, you guys really think you really think they're going to give you a pass? These are the same people who are burning down your city over you, the police.
Mm-hmm.
But the police in Minnesota. And now you think, well, they've moved on to ICE. You do realize they just hate law and order.
It'll come back to you.
Of course it will.
They're not going to remember your solidarity with them in a year when you use a little bit too much force on somebody according to their view.
Yeah, exactly. The next time someone tries to run you over with their car and only gives you a little bit of a bruise and you enforce the law, you're going to be the reason for the protest. You understand that, right? Appeasing crocodiles is an exercise in futility. I'm amazed that anyone still has to relearn these lessons. It's enough. Law and order. This idea, it's also why I find it funny, when I was sitting, we mentioned Dave Smith where he said every single president, this was very telling to me as far as just a different worldview. I asked him, I said, so which presidents would be, guilty of war crimes? Every single president ever, he said.
Well,
with the exception of George Washington. Well, that just tells me you don't know George Washington.
Yeah.
That tells me you don't know anything about the French Indian Wars. That tells me that you don't know that he had people executed and made their fellow men watch. Like, there's an example that's made out of you. You can even get into the taxes on whiskey. Like, you don't know George Washington. This is the most tolerant that American leaders have ever been.
Right.
Have ever been of disruptors. Because everyone who's believed in freedom, liberty, a constitutional republic, understood that it can only exist under the umbrella of law and order, under the umbrella of a lawful people. This whole thing, we even the goalposts have moved from, well, your rights end at my face, right? The rights of your fist end at my face. We're literally seeing that now. Do their rights end when their fist hits your car? How about when their hand on the steering wheel blocks traffic? Why all of a sudden are we saying live and let live? They're not letting live.
No,
Does it
they're
have
not.
to get to the point where they are actively in the process of killing you to take action?
They're
Or do
getting
we
in the
say,
fucking
we're a
way.
country of laws. You're not allowed to block traffic like that. People have to go to work. You're not allowed to honk and scream and disrupt an entire neighborhood because people may have children sleeping. There may be a child who just got back from the hospital and needs to recover.
Also, it's just rude, dude.
Yeah,
It
children
is.
understand
It's rude.
this. Children understand this. I had kids who were ding-dong ditching one time.
Yeah.
They ding-dong ditched my house. And Joe Lewis had just come back from the vet. It was like a minor procedure, but he was all groggy, and he got, and he kind of stumbled around. And I went down and I said, hey, kids, you know, I get it. It's fine if you guys are having fun. Could you just not do my house because I have a sick dog there. He just came back from the vet. And, you know, it takes a lot for me to get him kind of down to bed. And you could see in their faces, one of them tried to blame a friend. And he said, it was him. And they were like, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sorry. And the next time they saw my dog, hey, what's his name? Oh, hey, Joe.
Even little kids are apparently making more sense than these fucking libtard leftist dipshits.
Like, they got it. But they had a conscience. These people don't.
Yep.
These people don't. They're like, well, yeah, how could I know that you had a child in your house? You don't. That's why we have laws.
Yep. 100%.
That's when people go, well, how could I know that a 30-day waiting period for a gun was going to result in an ex-boyfriend killing you? You don't. That's why we have the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
If I'm not a criminal, I have the right to defend myself. The laws are designed so that you don't need to take into account every single facet of every unique situation. They are universal. They apply to all. Human beings have the right to be in a neighborhood that is not disrupted. They have the right to drive their vehicles without being hit, without being blocked. Therefore, you don't do it. It doesn't matter if they're rushing someone to the hospital. It doesn't matter if they have a sick kid recovering at home and you're disturbing the peace. None of that matters. This is the law. You follow it, and if you don't, there are consequences. You repeatedly don't follow it, you're taking your life in your hands. That's how it always worked. We used to expect a police officer to defend themselves violently, or a federal officer. If you committed 1, 2, 3, 4 felonies that day and charged at him with your car, whether intentional or not, it would not have been a surprise. It would have been a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Also, if this was a police officer in Minneapolis and the exact situation, we wouldn't be hearing about it. We wouldn't be talking about it.
Probably not.
No, we wouldn't be talking about it. It wouldn't be major news because everyone would be like, yeah, well, it's tricky because it looks like she came at him. And, oh, yeah.
But it's
because it's ICE.
Yeah.
Now it's the Gestapo.
And just think about the world we would live in, or the country we would live in. And I'm not even asking liberal mayors to completely do something reasonable and change their opinion on ICE and the services that they're providing. But just to say to the people, like, just to make sure people don't die in the streets because of this, hey, none of us like this. But there are some criminals here illegally. Here's a list, like the one we just gave, of 10 offenses from these criminals that we've had picked up in the last month. So we may not like this, and I'm working to make sure that this doesn't disturb our communities too much, but we need to let these people do their jobs to remove the criminals from amongst us that are killing, raping, robbing, doing all kinds of crazy stuff to our citizens. Can we all just do that and then hate them later when they're gone? Like hate ICE officers after they're gone? Can we all still be on board with that? That would be so much more productive.
They won't do it.
What they have right now is it's the Gestapo going around right now, just randomly pulling people off the streets to send them to a crematorium. That's not what's happening.
It's
You won't
hyperbolic
get
as fuck.
these
They're
leaders to
retarded.
stop defending these folks either.
No.
You won't get that. I think you're asking a little too much. I think it's simpler. You say you hate them, whatever. Say all the things you're already saying, except, hey, don't get in the way.
Yeah. You don't
We
have the
hate
right to.
this. We don't like this. We're Minnesotans. We're back together. But hey, stay off the roads.
Yeah.
Guys,
Well, they're putting themselves in a position of being sacrificial lemmings, and they don't even realize it. I mean, and if they do and still do it, they deserve that FAFO. I mean, I hate to say it, but not really. You fuck around and you will find the fuck out. The heat is getting turned up, and y'all are turning the fucking heat up. Hope y'all learn before it becomes fatal.
hey, that's a law enforcement operation there. And
I will even say this. I'll be incredibly reductive. Because they'll eventually, maybe someday, come out with someone who is just, selling empanadas and gets escorted or roughed up. We haven't seen it yet. If it existed, you would know about it. But But I don't even want to get into they have to be a child rapist, they have to be a drug dealer. Let me ask you this. Do illegal aliens have the right to be here?
No.
No? Okay. Round them up, deport them. That's it. Anyone who interferes with it,
Adios.
you're breaking the law. You'll be dealt with accordingly. Oh, you're still here? And you're still watching this on YouTube? You've probably noticed something is missing by now. I'm not here. That's because the Live Daily Show is now streaming exclusively on Rumble weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tune in there, where nothing is censored.
And I'm also going to start posting over there too, because in my short career on YouTube, I am already being shadow banned because I don't censor myself. Go figure. Ha!